It's February 13th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with Donald Trump's NATO comments. His comments saying he will not protect NATO members who do not pay their bills is drawing scorn both at home and abroad. The NATO chief says such comments put European and American soldiers at an increased risk. Bitcoin pushed past $50,000 for the first time in over 2 years, and Nvidia's market value briefly surpassed Amazon's on Monday as investors bought into the chipmaker's market-leading position in AI. Policy discussions with citizens that have been taking place here in South Korea will be expanded into a more than a 10-part series, moving outside the capital Seoul. The top office says President Yoon will travel around the country to hold more talks with citizens on livelihood issues. Former U.S. President Donald Trump says that NATO members who are delinquent in terms of defense spending guidelines should not expect U.S. protection. Now, the comments have drawn immense criticism from NATO and his likely opponent in this year's presidential election. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump on Saturday told NATO members that they would need to pay their dues if they want military assistance from the United States. His comments drew immense criticism, as he said he would encourage Russia to do whatever they want to any NATO member country that doesn't meet defense spending guidelines.
And one of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Responding to Trump's remarks, U.S. President Joe Biden slammed his likely presidential opponent, saying that the former president is making it clear that he is willing to abandon its allies. Biden added that Trump's message gives Putin a green light for more war and violence, calling his remarks appalling and dangerous. In a statement Monday, NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg said any suggestions that NATO allies will not defend each other undermines their security and puts American and European soldiers at increased risk. He added that there are still expectations that regardless of who wins the presidential election, the U.S. will remain a strong and committed NATO ally. Trump's remarks come on the back of a NATO report released last year, which showed that only 11 of the then 30-member alliance were spending 2% of GDP or more on defense. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
More than 100 people were killed Monday, with hundreds more injured during Israeli airstrikes on Rafah city and surrounding areas. According to a Palestinian media source, Israel conducted about 40 airstrikes on the Rafah region in the early hours of the morning. Some 1.4 million people, Gazans, have taken refuge in Rafah since the armed conflict began. Meanwhile, Hamas said Monday that 3 Israeli hostages died from their wounds sustained from intense Israeli attacks over the weekend. Israel says there are still over 130 Israelis being held hostage. North Korea claimed over the weekend that it has succeeded in developing a new controllable shell and ballistic control system for its multiple rocket launchers. Is the Korean peninsula at risk of war? We're joined by Dr. Mark Barry this morning. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Dr. Barry, it is the first time that the North announced the test and development of the multiple rocket launcher shells. Why is the North making the progress public?
Well, of course, South Korea has known, its military has known that they've been developing this for quite some time. But I think by announcing it, they're basically demonstrating to the world and to potential customers that they can make precision-guided artillery munitions, which are fairly low cost. They're not as expensive as the more sophisticated and longer range weapons. But I think it's a way of showing both to South Korea, its allies, the U.S. and Japan, as well as to potential customers that we've got the stuff to do it and, keep us in mind in the future.
Right, that's also in line with the speculation that the North is looking to export this particular 240 millimeter caliber controllable multiple rocket launcher shells to Russia, right?
Well, you know, if Putin is going to visit, let's say between April and June, they would be very happy, North Korea, to be able to tell Putin and Defense Minister Shoigu that we've tested these things and we could demonstrate that the efficacy of these weapons to you or to your trusted staff, and keep us in mind for your defense needs in the future. So very much so, I think they have the Putin visit in mind and becoming a much longer-term customer, because whatever happens in the Ukraine war, the war chest of, in terms of munitions of Russia is going to be quite low, and they're going to need to backfill it. And North Korea would love to manufacture stuff that is sort of surplus for them to be able to sell to other customers like Russia.
Right, developing a new controllable shell and ballistic control system for its multiple rocket launchers, and also, countless missile launches beginning in the beginning of the year. Is North Korea headed for a war in 2024? I mean, especially based on the two January 11 op-eds by Carlin and Hacker, and also by former U.S. Ambassador Gallucci. What's your take on this?
Well, when I first saw the op-eds and the fact that they were timed for the same day, January 11th, I thought this was earth-shaking, at least among the community of North Korea watchers. I think many people misunderstand what Carlin and Hecker are saying, which is that it's kind of like if you go to a family gathering and you meet an uncle that you haven't seen in a long time, who used to be rather friendly, even sometimes jovial, and would smile at you, but after many years of not seeing that uncle, you find out upon your new visit that this guy has changed and something is very profoundly different about him. Well, this is what Carlin and Hecker are basically saying, that for 34 years they've tried to bring about some engagement with the United States in order to offset the pressure, particularly from China and somewhat less so from Russia. But that 34 years has been one of failure. And it's something that the Kim dynasty, from grandfather to father to son, meaning Kim Jong-un, have pursued, because they always thought of the United States that although it was an imperialist power, much like China, Russia, and Japan, it was a benign imperialist power. So all of their dreams, if you will, have been shattered because the Hanoi visit, the Hanoi summit with Kim Jong-un and Trump, was such a disaster, which is the responsibility of both sides. But that's the very reason that North Korea has basically said, we've put all that past us, and now you see the new North Korea.
Right, I'm sure the Hanoi summit was a nightmare for the leader, Kim Jong-un. Dr. Barry, in the meantime, U.S. Secretary of Defense Austin is back in hospital again now with even more complications from his December surgery. I'm sure that's a huge concern for President Biden, with two wars raging for which Washington provides arms, isn't it?
It is, because, the surgery that he had is not that unusual, especially at his age of about 70. And normally it's a hassle, but it's not that big a deal to recover from. But he's had two emergencies since the surgery in mid-December. The first one had a lot of negative publicity about it because of the fact that he didn't delegate responsibility to the subordinate properly and inform the White House in a timely manner. This time he did, but the fact that he's made two emergency visits, and although he'll be released tomorrow, he frankly had to cancel his trip to Brussels this week. So I think it's raising a lot of questions. Is this going to be an ongoing urological issue, as well as any potential treatment for cancer, which may or may not be necessary? It may just need to be monitored. But when we last saw him in Dover, Delaware, receiving the bodies of the 3 Americans killed in the attack in Jordan, he was walking with a limp. So we just don't know. It's not a good look, particularly when President Biden's memory is being questioned by the Republican special counsel appointed by the Justice Department. It's not a good look for this administration.
Right. Before I let you go, Dr. Barry, briefly, I'd like to touch upon Seoul's Unification Minister Kim Yong-ho's remark last week that South Korea would share data on Japanese abductees with Tokyo. How much of a big deal is it?
I think it's a big deal. I think it's not being covered enough outside of Japan. The abductee issue is a very serious issue. And although South Koreans, many know that there are far more South Korean abductees since 1950 that may still be alive in the North. But this is such a critical issue, and the public take it so personally. And since Prime Minister Kishida said that he is making every effort to make some breakthrough diplomatically with the North in order to have a summit with Kim Jong-un, he's the only leader, not President Biden, not President Yoon, not any other Western leader at this point, other than Prime Minister Kishida, who's made a commitment to have a summit. So I applaud the unification minister, who happens to be my former doctoral classmate, for making an effort that I am not aware has ever been made by the ROK before, which is to share what intelligence and data they have on these abductees, because the Japanese government has always been convinced that there are far more abductees than those that have been acknowledged by North Korea or publicly by Japan. So the fact that this cooperation has been extended, I think, is an outgrowth of the August Camp David summit. And frankly, we should have a lot of, we should be applauding and encouraging Prime Minister Kishida to try to make that breakthrough in 2024 and try to bring the tensions down with North Korea, because he's best positioned to do that.
All right, Dr. Barry, thank you so much for your insights. As always, we appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Following the Lunar New Year holiday, President Yoon will hold an 11th round of policy talks with members of the public, expanding his series of discussions on people's livelihoods to major cities and provinces outside Seoul. His office on Sunday announced Yoon will travel around the country, including to the southern and central regions of the country, such as Busan, Daegu, and the Chungcheongdo provinces. This comes after the leader held 10 government policy discussions in Seoul and its surrounding Gyeonggi-do province, inviting members of the public and experts relevant to each topic. The 11th session will focus on balanced regional development under the theme of an era where people can live comfortably anywhere. Seoul has named a new vice chairman to the nation's top policy body on tackling the chronically low birth rate, which is expected to fall to 0.6 births per woman this year. The top office said Sunday that former Trade and Industry Minister Ju Hyung-hwan will be the second in command of President Yoon Suk-yeol's Committee on Aging Society and Population Policy. Ju said long-term measures will be reviewed and implemented across Korea's economy, society, and culture to tackle the deep-rooted factors behind the falling birth rate and declining population. Yoon also appointed Choi Sul-gi, a professor at the Korea Development Institute with a background in demography, to the committee to help formulate new policies. The president also instated Yoo Jun, his secretary for cybersecurity, as the third deputy director of the National Intelligence Service to oversee cyber intelligence operations. Monumental milestones were reached during Monday's markets. Bitcoin broke past $50,000 mark, and Nvidia's market value briefly surpassed that of Amazon for the first time in 22 years. Lee Soo-jin reports.
Bitcoin has surpassed the $50,000 level for the first time in more than 2 years. According to U.S. cryptocurrency platform Coinbase, at 12:26 p.m. on Monday U.S. Eastern Time, Bitcoin surged 3.65% from the previous day. This marks the first time since December 2021 that the cryptocurrency has been valued at more than $50,000 per coin. The world's largest cryptocurrency was boosted by last month's regulatory approval by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to allow the creation of Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, as well as a growing interest from Wall Street in the tech industry. The massive outflows from Grayscale Investments' Grayscale Bitcoin Trust after it received approval from the SEC to convert its existing $28 billion in assets under management into an ETF have also begun to subside. Following the approval of the long-awaited ETFs on January 10th, the cryptocurrency briefly tumbled below the $40,000 level, but has since been on an upward trend. Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency, was also up nearly 2% to pass the $2,000 mark on the same day. And the renewed interest from investors in the tech industry was also evident when U.S. AI chip maker NVIDIA briefly overtook Amazon in terms of market capitalization for the first time since 2002, when they were both valued at under $6 billion. On Monday local time, NVIDIA's market cap passed that of Amazon's to briefly become the fourth most valuable U.S.-listed company before closing with a valuation behind the e-commerce giant. The primary driver behind NVIDIA temporarily surpassing Amazon is the global frenzy surrounding artificial intelligence, further raising expectations that the chipmaker may become a $2 trillion company this year. NVIDIA currently holds around 80% of the high-end AI chip market, leading its shares to surge a whopping 223% over the past 12 months. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
The Sejong Cultural Society in the state of Illinois has a special place in its heart for Korea's cultural heritage, helping younger generations absorb Korean culture through music and literature. And to celebrate their 20th anniversary of doing so, a special concert took place. Yoon has this story.
The Sejong Cultural Society in Illinois has been working to raise awareness and understanding of Korea's cultural heritage among people in the United States. This year, the society is celebrating its 20th anniversary with a special Korean-themed concert. At the Galvin Recital Hall in Evanston, Illinois, performers included past winners of the Sejong Cultural Society's annual music competition for pre-college students. The competition itself was aimed at raising awareness of traditional Korean music. Participants perform one required piece and one of their own choosing.
They are so busy studying their own standard repertoire, so we wanted our required piece not too long, so usually 3 minutes or less, and must contain some Korean musical theme. So 20 years ago, we couldn't find any piece like that.
The Sejong Cultural Society has collected over 150 music pieces from talented composers who understand the goal of composing short yet creative instrumental solos for the piano and violin using Korean traditional melodies. It's these contemporary songs that were performed at the concert, with the composer's commentary explaining how they have implemented the traditional elements from the original song. Carissa, who won the senior division in 2015, played Joy of Onghea, a violin solo piece based on a Korean folk song.
We realized that competitions like Sejong really make a difference in young musicians' lives and help them become better artists. So I'm really honored and happy to have been able to help celebrate Sejong's 20th anniversary.
One of the cultural events that are organized annually is a Shijo competition, which introduces a traditional Korean poetic form of writing. Workshops for middle and high school teachers mean that more students can learn about Korean poetry. And by fostering cross-cultural understanding, the Sejong Cultural Society says it hopes to contribute to the harmonious existence of various ethnic backgrounds.
I think it's not only Korean descendants, but non-Koreans also appreciate this kind of music. And this is the time that we need more cross-cultural training, education. Multicultural competency is what they need to develop. So this is just one small thing that we can add.
Yoon, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Siang, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. We begin today in the United States, where the country's Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was put under general anesthesia on Monday to treat an emergent bladder issue. Austin has transferred his duties to his deputy following his hospitalization on Sunday. According to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, Austin had non-surgical procedures under general anesthesia, although doctors said in a statement on Monday that Austin will be able to resume his duties by Tuesday and that a prolonged hospital stay is not anticipated. the U.S. Defense Secretary was forced to cancel a planned trip to Brussels for the meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group due at the end of the week. This is Austin's third hospitalization since his prostate cancer diagnosis at the end of last December. Moving over to Finland, Conservative former Prime Minister Alexander Stubb has claimed victory in the Finnish presidential election. According to the Finnish Justice Ministry on Sunday, the National Coalition Party candidate won 51.6% of the votes, narrowly beating independent Green Party candidate Pekka Haavisto. Having been Finland's first election since it joined the NATO last year, 55-year-old Stubb is expected to take a hardline approach towards Russia's war on Ukraine, saying that he doesn't see any kind of communication with Putin or with the Russian political leadership in the near future. In sports news, Côte d'Ivoire have won the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. The Ivorians secured the trophy with a 2-1 victory in Sunday's AFCON final against Nigeria at their home ground, the Alassane Ouattara Stadium in the Côte d'Ivoire city of Abidjan. Ivorians Franck Kessie and Sébastien Haller each scored in the second half of the final after Nigerian defender William Troost Ekong scored in the first half. 2023 AFCON host nation Côte d'Ivoire are the first host country to win the Cup of Nations since Egypt in 2006. Pop star Taylor Swift was at the Super Bowl on Sunday to celebrate her boyfriend Travis Kelce's triumph with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kelce, who plays tight end for the Chiefs, saw his team beat the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday and was seen celebrating afterwards with Swift at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Taylor Swift is currently on a world tour and performed in Tokyo just a day before the Super Bowl. Many speculated she wouldn't be able to make it to the game, but flying in a private jet straight after her show, she landed with around 2 hours to spare before kickoff.
Good morning. The weather shifted toward the spring side after the long holiday weekend. Temperatures will soar to the mid-upper teens by the afternoon, going up nearly 10 degrees Celsius from seasonal norms. Then those in Daegu will notice temperature gaps of nearly 20 degrees Celsius today. If it weren't for the fine dust, it would be a perfect day to spend time outdoors. Central regions in Jeollabuk-do province and Gwangju will have bad air quality again, with Incheon being under an ultra-fine dust advisory this morning. But the rest of the country should have decent air to breathe in. Enjoy the weather if you can. Tomorrow, we can expect better air quality in most places. Highs will go up 3 to 5 degrees higher this afternoon. Daegu, Gwangju, Jeju will be all hiking up to 18 degrees Celsius this afternoon. But coastal regions will be quite windy, while dust-affected areas will see sunny skies blurred by that dust. Tomorrow will be even warmer than today before a winter mix on Thursday brings down the temperatures to near seasonal norms. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Wednesday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.